Coffin is a Small Domain by Emily Dickinson, 1830 to 1886. A coffin is a small domain, yet able to contain a citizen of paradise in its diminished plane. A grave is a restricted breadth, yet ampler than the sun, and all the seas he populates and lands he looks upon. To him who on its small repose bestows a single friend, circumference without relief or estimate or end. Okay, this is a poem by Emily Dickinson. Emily Dickinson came from Amherst, Massachusetts. This was small town America in the mid-19th century. She was a recluse, and most of her poetry was not published until after her death. Now, what's this about? Well, it's not surprising Emily Dickinson writing a poem about a coffin and the small domain that a coffin is, because this is very, very her. Death is one of her major topics, and I think today she would have made a wonderful goth, perhaps. Mind you, she always wore white, so that probably wouldn't work. Let's see, what's this about? Well, it's about death, and I think it's questioning the afterlife and what is the afterlife. Let's see, she lived in a time where going to church and being godly and good was something that was part of the society. You had to be a good person. You had to believe in God, to go to church, to do good deeds. And I personally think that she had difficulty, from the poems of hers I've read, she had difficulty believing in this, believing in the God that was preached by the church of the time. She even refers to herself in one of the letters talking about Christianity as one of the lingering bad ones. And I think she's sometimes in her poetry she believes in God, and other times she doesn't. She's in between. She's not certain, and clearly a lot of people around her died during her lifetime, and it would have been easy for her to believe in an afterlife, and I think sometimes she did and sometimes she didn't, and I think this is something that she's wondering about, and I believe she's wondering about it in this poem. Is there this afterlife after death where you go to paradise and it doesn't matter that your body is in a small coffin or a small grave, because you have you are with God in paradise and you can go anywhere because paradise is infinite? Or maybe you're just put in this coffin, in this grave, and you live in this small box for eternity. And she's wondering about eternity. So a coffin is a small domain, yet able to contain a citizen of paradise in its diminished plane. So a coffin is a very small place. However, despite the fact that a coffin is very small, it contains a citizen of paradise in its diminished plane, in its diminished size. So a coffin may be very small, but it contains a citizen of paradise. Now, paradise is the afterlife, is going to heaven, or is it? Because I wonder, you see, I think with paradise she's playing with two ideas: paradise on earth. When we're alive, the life that we live is paradise, and this is a citizen who lived in paradise, who lived in the earthly Garden of Eden that we have around us. Or maybe this is somebody who has gone to God and is now living in heaven. So in its diminished plane, either it's great because you've died and you finally you got the heavenly choirs singing, or maybe it's the end of everything. And I think this is easily interpreted both ways. A grave is a restricted breadth. So notice the grave is the hole that you dig to put the coffin in. It's the same thing. And it's not very wide, yet ampler than the sun, and all the seas he populates and lands he looks upon. So again, the grave is a very restricted width, but it's wider than the sun. It's got more things than the sun. If you go to heaven, the possibilities are greater than the seas and the lands he populates. Notice the capital H here. He is God, or Jesus, or and the lands he looks upon. So it's something that has more scope, more possible scope than just this small space. But is that real? Is this her real belief, or is this sarcastic? To him who on its small repose bestows a single friend, circumference without relief, or estimate, or end. So to the person who is inside the grave, in this grave, God gives them, bestows on them a single friend. But who is this friend? Well, this friend is circumference without relief. It's just a small space to move inside, without estimate. It's something that you can't work out, is without end. So the single friend could be this space inside this box, inside this tomb, for eternity, and that could be an absolute nightmare. Or maybe it's infinity. It's going to heaven. It's the afterlife. It's the place of access to all of the wonders that these Christians talk about, or religion talks about. So I think here where it's possible to interpret it in both ways, and I think I would like to interpret it as both ways, that she's not sure. It could be one or it could be the other, and I think all she's doing is inviting you to think at length about eternity, about what death actually means. Is it the end of everything and stuck in a little hole, or do you go to some infinite eternal paradise? So, A Coffin is a Small Domain by Emily Dickinson.